In a recent set of videos, I talked about a couple of posts where people had made some videos that were, we think, a little bit less than, we'll just say, honest or factual. Some of the information appears to be kind of fabricated, and certainly nothing in their videos allowed for any verification of the things that they claimed. We're not going to go into details on those, and of course you can go watch those former videos, but that's not really the point. What I want to talk about is some of the comments that came up on them, and nothing terrible, so don't worry, this is not going to be one of those super negative videos, but it is important to touch on a couple of these points, and I want to talk about something interesting that we found at a restaurant in Managua this past week. I just got back from spending some time in Managua, so I want to fill you guys in a little bit on my journey there before we talk about today's event. So we're going to talk about what they got at the Shanghai Bistro in the Galerias de Santo Domingo right after the bump. The past few days I've been in Managua. Marcela is going through her treatment for Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she is about halfway through the time period between her 10th and her 11th treatment out of a total of 12. So she has a little bit left to go, about a month that she has to still go through her chemo treatments, and that is getting tougher and tougher with each one. And so at this point, she had a very tough week, had some mistakes made with some pain treatments at some hospitals here in Leon. So she returned to Managua in the hopes of getting some pain treatment there, not chemo treatment. That's always done in Managua, and that's gone really well. We're really thrilled with how they're handling the chemotherapy, but the pain treatment for that is something that is, she is allergic to the normal treatment, and it's taking her out of their normal processes, and they have quite a few challenges with that. So we've been working with that. We talked about this on the live stream, and of course, if you're unaware of our live streams, every Thursday we try to do a live stream in the evenings. It's a really good time. It's not a ton of people. We can have normally up to about 50 people on a normal night. Our record's like 250, but we get a nice crowd of people discussing Nicaragua events and the channel, and it's very social. People get to know each other. We have a lot of conversations. And this past week, we actually diverged into some IT and educational stuff. So it gets kind of interesting, and it's a great time to pop in and ask questions in real time. So please consider joining us on Thursdays. But we talked about how she is in the process of moving from Manolo, which is the general and very good public oncology center, to Militar, which is a semi-private. Now, this is one that you can get access to as part of the public system. It is owned by the government, but it is treated as a higher-end private hospital that is run by the government as opposed to the general public system. It's a little bit hard to describe exactly how it's done. Obviously, it exists primarily for the military, but the military doesn't use the hospital very much because they're not involved in anything that gets people hurt. So it's just there for theoretical needs, but they maintain this really high-quality government-owned hospital as opposed to, for example, Vivian Pellis, which is the completely private, very high-end hospital. So we have a few options, and there's a few others as well, such as Bautista, which is basically Baptist, that are out there, and it's very difficult to evaluate different ones unless you have a lot of medical conditions and are bouncing around between them for some reason. We just kind of gather information as to which one people tend to like more. We get really good reports from all of these, including a lot of the public ones. So, but Militar has some extended capabilities, and we're hoping that their ability to deal with her pain treatments will be better. So we're really looking forward to that. And she's in much better spirits after having dealt with some paperwork, gotten the official transfer to Militar, gotten through kind of the hump of the worst pain from the chemo, and getting a chance to go out in Managua. Went out to dinner one night and then spent the next day running errands, but then going out to dinner and stuff when the time allowed. And so real quick, I'll just tell you a couple highlights. We did go for lunch at the Intercontinental. So this is a place that I've never been to before, so I've never talked about it on the show. This is one of the higher end hotels in downtown Managua. It's right by Metro Centro, so a part of the city. We don't often spend a lot of, we're always transiting through there, but we don't like spend time there really. But if you are looking for a different dining experience, the Intercontinental actually has 4 really nice looking restaurants in it. Now I only ate at one, but they have 4, and it's worth exploring. They have a sushi restaurant that looks very nice. They have a artisanal pasta place. They have a thing called The Market, which as far as I can tell is like an executive lunch kind of place with a buffet. I'm sure they have some dining options for nighttime as well. Definitely check them out. I'm not sure if you can find a menu online or not. And then the last one is The Factory Steak and Lobster, which is a really dedicated steak, lobster, and shrimp restaurant. absolutely beautifully appointed. All of them are around the giant pool with waterfall in the Intercontinental. So if you're looking for a bit more of a high-end experience, something a little bit different, or something that feels a bit more American, if you just need that break. Now, I often stay at the Hilton Hotel, so there's a lot of flies and bees flying on me out here because we have like that just rain, so all the bugs are coming out and going on whatever they can get. Sometimes, you know, we like having a break from normal Nicaraguan life, and it's nice to get a little taste of America again. So when I was in Managua, I stayed at the Hilton Princess. Thanks to them, I had a great time. They got upgraded to the executive floor and got the corner room because they were not busy, so I had a beautiful room while I was there. The Intercontinental's right across the street, and they have all these restaurants, so I was checking it out, and we're very, very pleased with the selection that we found. What a beautiful hotel it was, and we went to the factory, and it was excellent. Service absolutely amazing. Right, check it out for sure. So that's a great option if you're here living in country. If you're visiting, I generally not recommend these kinds of places. But if you are living here full time and you're looking for a break, you're looking for something different, that variety gets really important. And the Intercontinental really does deliver on that, which I've heard great things about it. I've just never been in there before. So that was neat. But on the night before that, we took her and her kids out for Chinese food. We had gone to the Galerias at Santo Domingo to go, and there's a lot of restaurants there, but a lot of them are meat only. So we tried a couple places and I wasn't able to eat at them. So we gave up and went to the Shanghai Bistro, which we've gone to before. They do a good job. And it's a beautiful second floor restaurant right next to the Hyatt and in kind of this extended part of the Galerias. And it's a major facility. So we went in there, got dinner. I just got a Caesar salad with salmon, which was quite good, very large. And the surprise thing of the evening, we had no idea this was going to happen, is that our waiter came out, and our waiter was a robot. We actually had a robot bring our food. That was amazing. There's people everywhere. There's a very human touch, but having a robot actually come out with the meal and bring it to your table was really surprising. I have never encountered this anywhere. Now, I don't really travel in Asia, so I don't have that experience there where I know this would be relatively common. Certainly there are places in America that must have this. I have never encountered it anywhere, never in Europe, never in North America, certainly never in Latin America. To have this happen in Managua for the first time ever was pretty surprising, and we had no idea it was going to happen. So that was just a really cool thing that I don't know anywhere else you're going to experience that easily. So if you happen to be at the Galerias and you want to eat at the Shanghai Bistro, you may get a robot waiter as well. On to today's real topic. So I want to talk a little bit about, we got a number of posts of people and someone, it was really more of someone commenting on their post than anything. And they were saying that a lot of comments actually on the channels that we were kind of reviewing, right? So there are these fake videos or seemingly fake videos where people made kind of skewed claims. Either they claimed something that was demonstrably false or something that was obviously false, but we can't actually prove that it was false, or something that seemed false and they could not prove that it wasn't and offered no proof thereof. But one way or another, all the things were very sketchy at best. And in looking at those videos, we wanted to break that down a little bit and make sure, because people keep asking me about these videos. What do you think? Can you do a review? Can you do a response? I'm like, I don't really want to do responses to fake videos, or what we think are fake videos. However, someone made the comment that if you look at the posts on those videos, there are, even if they're fake, there's a ton of, in this case, they said Nicaraguans who are crapping on their own country and have a lot of negative things to say. And while that could be true, I want to point out something incredibly important. And that is, and we've been doing this for a number of years, and this is true of your Reddit threads, this is true of your YouTube comments, this is true of posts on Twitter and so forth. When you look through and look at the things that people are writing, a couple things seem to be very consistent when I see these posts and question them. And sometimes it's just looking into the account, sometimes it's actually speaking to the person and so forth. But a few things are pretty universal. I'm not saying there's no exceptions, of course there are, but pretty universal is one, they tend to be accounts that have no profile picture, no honest information. It's just often they're old, so they're not making the account on the spot. Sometimes that does happen, but that's the rare. But the account has no verifiable information. There's no name, there's no location, there's no history of posting, there's no videos from a place that kind of gives you a feeling that this must be the person in the video, and it proves who they are and proves where they are over a period of time, or anything of the sort. Pretty much, there's always, you go look at the account, and they might say that they're in Nicaragua in this case, but in most cases they don't even say that. It's just a randomly generated name and no identity whatsoever. That alone kind of should make you go, okay, I'm going to take this with a grain of salt. Unless they're telling you how to look something up, assume that none of it is true. If I look at the things that they post, quite often they post things that are misinformation, like demonstrably false information. Okay, that's a dead giveaway, of course. Often they repeat things in language patterns that in the type of things that they promote that don't make sense to be coming from Nicaragua. They may present stuff in a very American-style way. For example, there are certain phrases and triggers and concerns that make no sense to someone who's non-American, and you'll see those, and that gives you a pretty good hint that they're probably not Nicaraguan or not considering, or I should say they're not Nicaraguan and not considering what a Nicaraguan would sound like or look like realistically, or they think people can't tell, and so they'll just claim they're Nicaraguan. Or if you looked at their speech patterns, they'll use terms and stuff that don't make sense for a Nicaraguan. And you put these things together and you start questioning people. And one thing that seems to never happen is you never get someone who's actually willing to demonstrate in any meaningful way that they are in or know anything about Nicaragua. Now, that doesn't mean that none of these people are. Of course, there are people who are in Nicaragua and have negative things to say. Obviously, that's going to be true anywhere. We're not saying that that isn't true. But the number of people that are doing that seems to be very small. When you actually dig into any of these individual cases, it seems almost guaranteed that you're going to find someone who isn't just unable to prove that they are in or have ever been or know anything about Nicaragua, but you'll often find that it's very hard to prove that they're a person at all. That the accounts are bots is very likely in many of the cases, but if they aren't bots, and I'm sure many are not, although at this point I'm sure that's shifting very quickly. Why would anyone bother using humans anymore? The bots have gotten to the point where they basically sound better than humans in almost all cases. Humans are actually pretty bad at posting fake things. Bots are better at it in a lot of cases. So the shift is going to happen very, very quickly. But even assuming these are real people, and in some cases they're individuals who just have a bone to pick. In some cases they are people who are paid, or some people, obviously there's a large number who may be Nicaraguan or Venezuelan or something living abroad and are scared and think that by posting negative things that the place that they're in will look on them kindly, maybe be less likely to arrest or detain them from, say, the United States. And so they'll say things either because they're being coerced or they feel pressure to do so. They imagine that it'll be good for them in some way, which maybe it is. So that is a real thing to assume that this may be what's happening. And when you look at an account, if they were legitimately in Nicaragua, there are cases where you would not expect to actually get any kind of verification. That's not out of the realm of reason, but it is not normal. If you have people who are truly here and truly doing stuff and really engaging, then you would expect them to be able to carry on an ongoing conversation, post additional information, answer general questions, have a pretty good ability to sound like someone who lives in Nicaragua. When you're looking at these posts, you should start by assuming that they are not Nicaraguan and not living in Nicaragua. Start with that assumption, and it becomes very obvious that you're getting a lot of propaganda. There's nothing that would, other than them stating that they are Nicaraguan and or live in Nicaragua, there's nothing to back that up at all. Anybody anywhere could claim that. You could take, a billion people in China, have them go online, all claim that they live in the United States and say anything that they want. There's a reason why when you go to vote, they make you show an ID card and prove that you haven't voted previously and that you're really an American, right? Because if you could just claim to be an American, there's an unlimited number of people out there, not unlimited, but about 7 billion of them, who could just say they're American and do anything that they want. That seems to be what's happening on Reddit, on YouTube, on X, and so forth. You have this huge number of people who are pretty clearly not actually Nicaraguan or in Nicaragua and are posting disparaging things, and in a very predictable way, in a very predictable phrasing, in a very predictable emotional plea kind of way, designed to make you feel like they might be sincere, to make you designed to feel a little bit of fear or concern, and in the hopes that you don't question. And Americans have a tendency not to question. We assume that people are telling the truth until proven otherwise. And that's a very dangerous thing, especially when that person is anonymous and very likely not a person at all. Giving someone the benefit of the doubt when they're not actually a person is a flaw. If you know someone or are interacting with someone in real life and you want to give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove that they are, until you have reasonable doubt that they're being honest, that's completely different. When you're seeing someone eye to eye and you have some amount of facial recognition, some amount of seeing their expressions, some amount of them understanding that you're a real person and so forth, you still have an extremely high chance that a stranger will lie to you. But it's so much lower than if you go online and deal with, one, anonymous human beings who have no obligation or emotional connection to you, no empathy for you, and that probably above 90%, possibly above 99% of them are computers that are simply pushing an agenda and have no emotions, no concept of honesty or anything of the sort. To give them the automatic benefit of the doubt as if they're a person you're seeing eye to eye is a natural human reaction, because we feel like their English words or their whatever words are coming from a human when normally they are not. And that we've been taught, whether socially or actually actively taught, that we should give people the benefit of the doubt doesn't apply anymore when we're in a situation where we're questioning if a person is even there to receive that benefit of the doubt or not. That's an important concept that I don't think people are really thinking through, because why would they under normal circumstances? So I encourage you, when you see people posting as responses on videos or in Reddit or in X or Facebook or whatever, I encourage you to not just question whether they are real people or have a legitimate validation that they are truly who they say they are. We're not asking for deep validation here. We're not asking to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. We're just asking for something suggestive that maybe there's a reason to believe them, and combine that with when other people then say, oh, all these people say. You say, did all these people say? Or do a whole bunch of things that could be bots say, and they got you to repeat it? We know you're a human in many cases. It could be another bot that's quoting other bots. That's a real thing. But let's assume we're talking to someone in real life and they say, oh man, I've been on Reddit, I've been on X, I've been on Facebook, I've been on YouTube, and man, there's so many people complaining about a thing or claiming this thing or saying this thing is negative. You say, did you actually speak to these people? Have you looked at their channels and said, oh, they have lots of videos where they show their face and their location. That location looks real. The video doesn't look like a scam. Like this, you have some legitimacy. I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying deep effort here. I'm just saying I've looked a lot. Basically, every time someone posts something that feels fishy, I go and look at their account. And I can tell you the number of times that I had the confidence that this was a real person is about 2 out of maybe 5,000. I mean that with real numbers. This is a constant thing where I'm getting these all the time. And every single time that I check, it's a blank account, no name, no address, no videos to show anything, no pictures, no profile, no anything, nothing behind what they're saying. And what they say doesn't match what I've seen in real life under normal circumstances. Once in a while, things do match, and then you tend to give them the benefit of the doubt because you have no reason to doubt them. But when someone's making a wild claim, oh, I had this terrible experience, or an outrageous claim, maybe it's within the realm of reason, but it's still like, well, okay, I've heard of this happening, but did it happen to you? It's awfully fishy that this really unlikely scenario just happened to happen to one of the people posting in my video, and then another, well, it happened to me, it happened to me. Someone's taking this is a plausible potentiality, and turning it into, if we post about it often, it sounds like a statistic likelihood. And you see things go from, there's this rumor that this one thing happened one time, and with a few bots, with a few repetitions, with a bot repeating a bot, and then once you get a human to go, well, I've seen so many situations, maybe they're not all true, but a lot of them must be. No, a lot of them must be. That's not even likely, let alone to be assumed. Possible. So we shouldn't rule it out completely and say there's no way that this has happened, but we have to treat it as no evidence. We have to treat it as, well, the claims have been made, but there's no substantiation. And until there's something to substantiate it, we really need to think of these things as valueless, as absolutely nothing whatsoever. And it's just like we talk about with real estate. It's if you get enough noise of people posting videos and say a house is worth $300,000 or $400,000, and then when someone finds out it's only $150,000, they get all excited and they're very likely to fall for it, even though the house may only be worth $75,000. We've conditioned them that the drop from 300 or 400 to 150 must be pulling back the curtain. But often the trick was to make you think 150 was realistic when it wasn't at all. And you think you figured it out, and they think they played you. That's what we see going on in many of these cases, I believe, is they think a volume of people or a volume of posts from different types of bots, sometimes a real person, simply making things up, will eventually cause you to believe that, well, it can't all be made up, so there must be some truth behind it. But there is no actual reason, unless you have some validation, some reason to believe that there would be truth behind it. There probably isn't. There's no reason for there to be. That's not how the world works today. And it's sad that we live in a world where automated posting of fake information is completely trivially easy and cheap, and that anybody could do it, let alone a government or a company that wants to push you in a certain direction. So you have to start assuming that until you get people who have ongoing conversations, people who validate themselves, pretty much anyone who has something of value to say is going to go, like me, through the effort of producing, now not to the level that I do, but producing a bit of content that makes them valid as a person to you. So like you can be confident from watching me for years, I am not a bot. I can't be. And you know from where my videos are shot that I'm in Nicaragua. I have to be, at least most of the time. And when you put that together, I still could be giving you misinformation or accidentally repeating information I think is true that isn't. But you do know that I'm an actual person and that I'm actually here, and that the things that I'm reporting on, I often show you, and it would be very, very, very difficult for me to fake it. Whereas in the case of most of the things that people are posting, it would be difficult for them to demonstrate that it was true. It's easier to fake it when you're simply posting text with no identity behind it and making just anything up. You don't even have to think about what's plausible or what's likely, because you're just making it up anyway. And if you have enough of those bots, people will still fall for it. So that's what I think I saw people doing, is seeing a bunch of bots or similar producing the same BS over and over, and then people repeat it, and that repetition by real people adds validity to something that may have no foundation whatsoever. Thank you for joining me. Like and subscribe. If you'd like to help support the channel and the work that we do here, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ScottAllenMiller. It's like Patreon. It comes directly to me. We have to pay for cameras and batteries and software and editing and licensing and uploading and all kinds of things. Really makes a big difference and is a big vote of confidence from you guys when you do that. Also, you can watch another video after this. Let it play even in the background while you're doing stuff. That really helps. Join us on that Thursday live stream. That is a lot of fun. If you'd like to help support my producer, Marcela, with her Hodgkin's lymphoma battle, that information for the GoFundMe for her is in the show notes, as is instructions on how you can send in a video and be on the show yourself, which we would love to do. It's so much fun when you guys do that. And with that, please remember to share this on social media and let someone know about it, and I will see all of you tomorrow.